Hi friends, it's Magpie here, and today I'm going to tell you my experience on the John Muir Trail. My hope is that in this video, if you are thinking about doing the trail, that this will kind of help you decide if the John Muir Trail is the trail for you. I'm going to start off with explaining how I chose the John Muir Trail, my lifestyle on trail, and some reflections and advice for you. So my boyfriend and I live full-time in this 1987 Winnebago that I'm currently filming in, and the John Muir Trail was actually one of the first places we stopped on our trip. If you aren't very familiar with the John Muir Trail, it is a 210-mile through hike that goes through the Sierra Nevadas in California. It starts in Yosemite Valley and ends on Mount Whitney, which is the tallest mountain in the contiguous United States. This was actually my first backpacking trip ever, but I had suspicions that I wanted to eventually do one of the longer backpacking trips like the AT, PCT, CDT, but I obviously wanted to make sure that I enjoyed backpacking before just hopping on to one of those trails. So my boyfriend and I literally just Googled like the best shortest through hikes, and the John Muir Trail was at the top of every list. Upon researching this trail, I thought that ending on Mount Whitney was so cool, and like what a neat way to end your journey. And this is also considered the best portion of the Pacific Crest Trail, so that was a very attractive quality for me. And a 210-mile through hike would take somewhere between like 2 to 3 weeks on average, which I thought was a really manageable amount of time for a first backpacking trip. I liked how remote the trip was. I had heard complaints on the AT of it just being too crowded, being too near cities, so this was a good diversion from that. And the whole trail is 210 miles with 45,000 feet of elevation gain, which sounds really scary, but to me, that sounded awesome. I wanted to see what I was capable of and if I could finish a trail as difficult as this. We actually ended up doing 225 miles just because of how our resupplies worked out. And it took us 17 days to complete, which I would say is a very average length. That's about 14-ish miles per day. And we started hiking on June 21st in Lyle Canyon and Tuolumne Meadows and ended on Mount Whitney. So we actually did not do the first 20 miles from Happy Isles that goes through like Half Dome, which I'm super bummed about, but I will go back one day and do those remaining 20 miles. This also means we went southbound. We hiked from late June to early July of this year of 2022. And this was the perfect time to hike for multiple reasons. Number one, the weather this year was perfect during that time. The temperature would get down in the high 30s at night and really wouldn't break higher than 80 during the day. Most of the snow was melted on the passes. The higher passes like Muir still had a little bit of snow, but we never needed spikes or ice axes. We did not get rained on a single time, which is amazing. I think that was partially luck though. We did get snowed on a little bit at the base of Donahue Pass, and we were told that we missed hail on the pass by about 10 minutes. Please keep in mind for the weather that it changes every year. It can be a high snow year, a low snow year. Ours was a very low snow year, so just because we had good luck with the snow from late June to early July does not mean it will be like that every year. So please, please, please check before you assume that from me. Most of the water sources were flowing at this point, but they weren't overflowing, so we did have to do a few creek crossings, but they were never like above our knees, so the water crossings were very bearable. The worst part for this time of year is the mosquitoes. They were so horrible. Definitely bring a bug net if you're gonna do this trail in the summer. I'm not kidding you when I say that they would just swarm you all the time. We couldn't stop hiking for more than 10 minutes without being absolutely swarmed by mosquitoes, by hundreds of mosquitoes. My calves were literally just huge scabs by the end. Nick actually did not bring a bug net and ended up purchasing one about halfway through because they were so horrible. And the worst part of the mosquitoes is we would get to camp at the end of the night and we couldn't even hang out outside of camp. We just had to basically dive right into our tent or we were just gonna get eaten alive by mosquitoes. And yes, we did have bug spray, but that only does so much for you. As for like the day-to-day on trail, it is physically challenging every single day. You are going to push yourself to your limit every day on this trail. Essentially, when you wake up, you are either going over a pass or you're going down and out of a valley. That's kind of how your days line up, which both are very hard. Like I said, it's a total of 45,000 feet of elevation gain. I cried every single day. Every single day. That's not a joke. We thought this trail was going to be remote, but we saw a lot of PCT hikers. I would say that's another downside to doing it in this time of the year. I think we hit a bubble of PCT hikers. And one of the first days we were on trail, we actually counted the amount of PCT hikers we saw, and it was over 70. After that, the trail was a lot more thinned out, but you definitely are not as alone as I previously thought I would be. I will also mention, just for lifestyle purposes, that we did not shower the whole 17 days. This was not on purpose. I promise we're not that gross. Where we planned to shower, the showers ended up being closed. So we actually did not get to shower, and it was like the biggest bummer ever. But a lot of people do shower at one of their resupplies. One other thing I want to mention about my lifestyle is I was really bad with nutrition on this trail. I got super tired of my food that I was carrying, which is a very common thing that happens on longer trails. You just get tired of eating the same thing every day. And like I said, this was my first backpacking trip, so I did make that mistake. I was having tuna for lunch every day, and I just wanted to like puke every time I saw the tuna. I still have not eaten tuna 6 months later. But because of that, I think I lost 10 to 15 pounds on this backpacking trip. I legitimately had to take paracord and tie my pants up or they were going to fall down. And I am a petite girl. I did not have 10 or 15 pounds to lose. So that was really scary for me. And I think that that's a pretty common thing that happens, especially on your first backpacking trip. And I'm still really bad with my nutrition. I have not figured it out yet. The main reason I experienced this though was we were carrying about 7 days of food at one time. You have to carry bear canisters on this trail, and in order for both of our food to fit in 2 bear canisters, we had to carry like really small stuff. So we were eating oats every single morning and mashed potatoes every single night. That just gets really tiring. As far as wildlife, the most exciting thing that we saw on trail were the marmots. It was marmot season. They were everywhere. We would see them every single day. We would see them in the valleys. We saw them on top of Forester Pass, which is the highest pass, and they are fat. People definitely feed them. Please don't feed them if you go on the trail, but people definitely do. There is actually a famous marmot at the Mount Whitney portal where you take the spur to actually climb up the mountain, and that is the fattest marmot I've ever seen. And he is known to steal people's food because people will drop their packs at that portal with food still in it, and he will dig through it and get your food out. So do not leave your pack at the Whitney portal or Mr. Fat Marmot will come and eat it. Although this trail was shorter, we were still able to have like a tramily. In other words, we made a lot of friends on trail and we would pass them every so often. We did a sunrise summit of Mount Whitney where we were actually able to summit with almost every single person that we met on trail, and that was a really cool experience. We all hiked down at the end of the day and went and had dinner at a nice Mexican restaurant in Lone Pine. There was still like a community experience even on a trail that was only 200 miles long, but definitely not to the extent that I hear people talk about it on the AT or PCT, which is expected. And again, although this was a shorter trail, we still did get trail names. Magpie is my trail name, and I got it because I'm a really big birder and I was birding the whole trail. My favorite birds are magpies, even though they have a bad reputation. They're just so beautiful, and I'm from Illinois, so I had like never seen those birds before. Nick's trail name is Tingers. He got that because of his long toes that look like fingers. But yeah, we were still able to get trail names, and we still use our trail names. Day to day, this trail was beautiful every single second. I'm literally sitting here trying to think of an ugly part of the trail, and I can't. It is just breathtaking views every second of every day. On this trail, I learned a lot about myself as a person, and Nick and I learned a lot about our relationship. I learned that I am strong. I am capable of more than I could ever imagine. I learned that my purpose for backpacking is to challenge myself physically and mentally. I like high mile days, and I really enjoy pushing myself to see how far I can possibly go before like just dropping to the ground. I think that that's kind of fun. I learned that I can survive without my phone, without Wi-Fi for 17 days. I think that we had 2 times where we had enough cell service to send a text to our family members that we were okay and alive. I learned how easy it is to make some awesome friends. We are still in touch with everyone that we hiked the trail with, and we have even visited a lot of them on our travels. So if you guys are watching this, I love you, I miss you, I can't wait until the next time we see each other. I just think that I can do anything now that I hiked this trail. Whenever I'm struggling with something, I tell myself like, I finished the John Muir Trail. I can do this. I can finish this silly 8-mile day hike that I'm doing. Why are you doubting yourself? And I'm able to tell myself that now, and that's honestly a huge confidence booster. My boyfriend and I learned that we work really, really well together, especially in stressful situations, and that we are very good hiking partners because we have very similar goals and interests. I could see how if you didn't hike for the same reasons, you didn't have the same pace, that could cause a lot of stress in a relationship while hiking, but we didn't really experience any of that, which was very reassuring. And I just think that if it's your goal to have a self-searching journey on a backpacking trip where you don't have to commit to a 4 to 6 month trip on the ATPCC CDT, then the John Muir Trail may be right for you. And I really encourage you to do some more research on it because I loved my experience on trail and I would go back in a heartbeat if I could. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. If you have any questions, comments, video requests on van life, backpacking, any of our adventures at all, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to make a video on them. Stay tuned for a gear and logistics video of the John Muir Trail that I'm working on, and happy trails.